Welcome everyone. We'll just give about 30 seconds to a minute here before we start. Welcome to you all. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be some other folks joining here over the next minute or so. Welcome, everyone. Once again, I'm Andrea Skinner, and I'm pleased to serve as your host and moderator today. We have some sessions to share with you. I hope that these will support you in your role, whatever that be, whether it be end user, content manager, or administrator. So we try to vary the presentations based on, varying skill sets. Today's webinar is brought to you by the dataBridge team. Everybody presenting today is in-house. I'll go ahead and share the agenda on screen so you can kind of see our topics that we're going to cover. So we're going to start off with John, who's going to talk about the artifacts in Microsoft Teams. I don't noticed, so whenever you finish a Microsoft Teams meeting, pretty much you and maybe a couple of other folks in your organization have access to those artifacts. You'll soon be able to decide who can have continued access to Microsoft Team artifacts like the recap, the meeting notes, the videos, and so forth. So they're not going to be kind of taken away and held hostage right away like they do right now. You'll be able to pick and choose whether to those assets open to attendees on that meeting. You can also add additional people access to those, even if they weren't on the call. So we'll hear from John on that. We'll hear next from Katie on two topics, and Katie's our in-house designer, and she's going to be showing how to apply custom images for section backgrounds on pages. So that's kind of an expanded but yet native and out-of-the-box feature that is rolled out in the last month or so. And then also how to reshape pictures, so you can actually out of the box now shape pictures. You don't have to upload them, having had to have shaped them in a design tool. And then we'll hear some query string tricks from Dylan. I think you'll find that very useful on how to kind of leverage those. That's more of a coding session. And then we will end today's presentation with Hayden talking about the very exciting newly revamped SharePoint start page, which I think is going to make everyone maybe find that more useful in the future. So a few instructions before we get started. Your mics are muted. You probably have already realized that. They will be muted until the end of the presentation, just to give us a chance to get through the content. But I do encourage you to put your questions or comments in the chat box as we move through the information, and the team will respond in live time to your questions. And then we may pause and talk about a question if it fits in and we've got time for it. So please feel free to use that chat box. All right, so at the end of the meeting, by the way, we're going to open up mics and we'll do a live Q&A if you want to stick around for that. So we're going to jump right in. I have the pleasure now of introducing John. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Andrea, and welcome everyone to our presentation today. Let me go ahead here and share my screen. Just a quick second, bear with me. It is not wanting to work with me. Just a quick second. I apologize.
I did put yours up just in case.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So if
we
you
see your calendar, John.
Here we go. Let's switch
there
that.
You go.
Always love having some struggles on a live presentation, right? Okay, so if you have not used the meeting recap yet, it's a fantastic tool. So what it does, right, is it takes notes during your entire meeting. That way you don't have to be worrying about taking notes, right? You can be laser focused on your meeting, focused on what's important, and it's taking notes, it's doing everything in the background. Uh, great tool. And right now, up to this point, it's only been available to meeting organizers, the people within your company that are set as moderators, organizers of that meeting. It hasn't been available to anyone outside your organization. Uh, and that is now changing. This is rolling out here as of June. So it may or may not be in your client right now, but it is rolling out. It takes a hot minute for things to actually start appearing in different tenants as they roll these things out. But what it does is allows you to choose, as Andrea mentioned, who can actually view that recap. And now you can tell it to allow people outside your organization to do that, which is great because now you don't have to worry about either taking the notes that exist and rewriting them and putting them in an email and sending them to your clients. You can just give them access, and they have those notes right there at hand. They can review everything. They can see tasks that came out of there, everything like that. It's great. So that being said, let me actually show you how we would do that. So when you go to set up a meeting, what you're going to do is go into your meeting. You're going to click on more options right here. And we're going to go to recording and transcript. And what you want to do is turn on recording automatically. And what happens is Copilot will be turned on by default when you record your meetings. And that's what's going to be taking all your notes and all that good stuff. When this rolls out, as you can see, like I mentioned, it's rolling out in July or in June. It's not everywhere yet. It is not on my tenant yet, but right here would be an option to choose who can access these meeting artifacts. That'll show up here soon. But it's not here for me yet. Anyway, what will happen is it will take all its notes, it'll document everything, and when your meeting ends, in your chat, you'll see something like this right here that says recording is ready. If you go into that, we'll see view recap. Go into the recap. By default, it shows you your meeting. It shows you who the speakers were, and you can tell you when they spoke. So if there's a certain topic you're looking for, or you want to see who said what, and you know they were talking about something here, you can click here. It takes you right to that part of the meeting. You can look at your topics and see, oh, what was that thing? We want to talk about this UIT. Let's go right there. Take a look at it. It brings you there. And you can also look at chapters. On this side, here it's taking detailed notes of your entire meeting. Great stuff. And you can even expand this, and it has extra detailed notes, kind of going line by line about what was discussed throughout the meeting. If there were mentions, if somebody was called out for a task, it shows up here, and there's a line by line transcript of every single word that was spoken. So it used to be that you have to come in here and take these and either rewrite them or copy paste it, put an email, yada. Now you can just immediately give anybody access to this, so they can come in here and they can see this, and they can even scroll down. Look, I had to take care of this. I had to, there are tasks that came out of this meeting, and now everyone knows what those are, and it's all in one location, easy access. It's a great tool. So, and just to show you, so here we go. Here's where it would show up. Who has access to the recording and transcript? This will start showing up in everyone's tenants here shortly. But for the moment, as you saw, it's not in mine. But you'll be able to choose either everyone can access it, just organizers and co-organizers, or you can choose who you want. If you just want one specific person out of that meeting to have access to this, you can select that, type in their name, boom, they have access. And just a note, this is available with the Copilot license. and Teams Premium. So you will need those to have access to this tool. But if you've already have that in your tenant, it should be rolling out soon. So that is my entire presentation. Let me go back to our slide. And I believe it's back over to you, Andrea.
Thanks so much, John. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It was great when the AI piece came into Microsoft Teams. It was fantastic for, comparing your own notes, and then more and more getting more comfortable with just using AI notes. I still always recommend that you guys read those, maybe edit them a little bit. They're sometimes, will not translate completely correctly, but it's very handy for sure. Next up, we're going to hear from Katie on two of the new design features that they should be in your tenant already. If they're not, they should be soon. Over to you, Katie.
Thanks, Andrea. So we're going to be talking about some new exciting features that SharePoint just rolled out as part of their SharePoint creator updates. The whole idea of those creator updates is to bring SharePoint pages to the next level and empower people to really make customized, beautiful pages. So with this update, you can now add an image or gradient to the page section. It does give you a bunch of options of stock images. However, you could also upload your own image. So let's go take a look at how that's all working. So as you can see here, we just have the white background. So going into edit mode and selecting the actual section, if it doesn't pop up, you have this edit section button. So from here, it used to be you just had these top 4 options. This being the primary theme color. So now, and I'm sure you've all seen this since it is completely rolled out, they give you a bunch of new gradient options that you could choose. And with these, you also have more settings that you could do. So they introduced the overlay, film mode, and other settings to really kind of hone it in. So let's choose just a simple photo. We'll go to add the background. For the sake of this demonstration, we'll just go ahead and use a stock photo. So you could see that it's coming in with a good bit of opacity there. You can open up the advanced editing and really kind of tweak that image if you'd like. You have these different fill modes down here. So we have the scale to fill. You could do the scale to fit. Tiles, which of course this is a pattern background, so you're not going to see tiles too much. Or just choose the original size. I typically will leave it on scale to fill. You also have different overlay colors here. So it gives you a white background where you could then adjust the opacity or the overlay opacity. You also have the darker background. And if you notice, what's nice about these options is that it actually updates the color of that text for you. So you could see when you go to the darker, it's going to change it to white. So really just help with the legibility of it. You also have 2 other options. So you have a light gradient. So you could kind of see it's lighter at the top, getting darker. You can choose the direction that you want it to go. So left to right, top to bottom, any of that. And still with the same opacity options here. And same for the darker. So this really allows you to customize the backgrounds. It used to be it had to be custom work to change a background besides those 4 out of the box ones. So this is really exciting. A little tip that I will share with you is just how to create a really seamless border between two sections. So I'm going to come down here, and we can see we have two separate sections right here. So this first section, I selected just a cloud photo, and I chose the gradient direction from bottom to top. The photo underneath, I did the opposite. So I have just this nice water photo and did top to bottom. So when the page is published, it really kind of looks like one seamless image there and just really nice. So there is also another feature that SharePoint has rolled out, and that's the applying shapes. Ooh, geez. Applying shapes to images. So this option is available in the text web part as well as the image web parts. So kind of coming back to our page here. Oops. We could see a few examples of the different shapes that it allows you to change it to. So very easily, you could select the image either in that text web part or an image web part itself. And you have this drop down right here that gives you a bunch of options for different shapes that you could do. They've also enhanced the editing options for the images as well. So you could come in here and do any filtering or advanced editing that may be needed. Additionally, with the image web parts, they've updated the overlay text options to actually give you some more options to what it could look like. So you can now bold, change the font size, change the color of the actual text box, as well as the opacity of and the image. So really allows you to customize, make it look like exactly what you want it to look like. So with these new features, we are looking forward to adding some other rollouts that are coming. So in the future, you're going to see the capability to support the animated backgrounds, which is going to be huge. Should be really exciting to see how that works. But, so with that, that concludes the new images options for SharePoint. So back to you.
Thanks so much, Katie. Yeah, there's lots of new design elements rolling out that started in June. It's going to continue honestly through the rest of the year. So we'll keep bringing you these features as they become available, putting that power back into the hands of the end users. We don't have to code a lot of these anymore. So we hope that you'll be able to put these to use in your tenant. So next up, we're going to hear from Dylan, who's going to show us how to leverage query strings to your advantage. Over to you, Dylan.
Hey, yeah, so in today's presentation, I want to go over some helpful query string URL tricks that are available that apply to SharePoint. And so query strings are just like a part of the URL that like at the end. So in the example here, like we have the question mark, and then you have would be like a parameter, and you can assign a value to that parameter. And in SharePoint, they've already got a handful that are set up that do something if you apply a certain value to it. If you've done any development or something, you probably play around with a lot of these, or even if you're a user, you've probably noticed, there might be like an ID equals, or you've seen the source equals, or different little things, or when you edit a page, the URL changes. So that's, those query strings, they can affect the functionality of your pages, your lists. So some of these are pretty helpful. And there is actually a page I can send as well, and I can put in the chat, but it shows some of these as well. I just put some of the ones that usually come up as being the most helpful, and some that I even have to remember that could be useful for me on the development side, but I'll try to focus on the ones that are more about content that you could just use at any point or be helpful to know about. So like the first one, which is the most common one of the more common ones that get used is like if you want to link to a form. So you have like a quick link maybe to a form you have in your site in a list, and then you can redirect it somewhere after. And so that one is the source equals. So I just want to kind of quickly go through a couple of them and then show how you can actually stack them together, use multiple at the same time. So for instance, I've got my quick link to a form here. And just to show you, I'm actually using a combination of different query strings. So another one that I'm using as well on this, I'm using the source equals, which I'll show you, but I'm also using this embedded mode. And an embedded mode allows you to remove any other sort of navigation elements or anything else that might come up that you don't need to show. So that can be a useful one you could throw onto URL, whether you're using an embed web part, which I'll show, or you just want kind of a focus mode for the so for instance, if I just show you real quick, what would it look like without that embedded mode? You see it has all the different navigation pieces and things like that. So a nice little trick is using just that little embedded there so that I have a focused version of the form that it's linked to. Right now it's just a vanilla form, but that potentially could be something that's nice to know about. You don't have to do any sort of development to get those other stuff out of there. So I'll just show you real quick if I just start to fill out a calendar item here. I won't worry about the details. I'll just hit the save and show you. For instance, I just redirect to a thank you page. So thank you for your submission, or maybe you want to just redirect back to your homepage or something. That's probably the more common one, but you could do a thank you for your submission or something like that, wherever you'd want. It would just be a matter of putting that URL in that source equals. And also you could add even more query strings to that source equals as well. So just to show you, I'm actually going to show you how you can actually use in a SharePoint embed web part. So it's an out of the box web part. If I come down here, same thing, I'm going to show the form, and I've just got my embed web part actually connected to a list so that I can show multiple embed examples pretty fast. But in this one, you can see I can open this up a little bit. In my embed web part, I'm using that embedded feature to have a focused version of the form show in my embed. And then also I have a redirect to that thank you page, which also uses that embedded view. So just kind of get a more focused version of the form. So just to show you real quick, if I fill out the form, hit the save. So even just, within my little embed web part, it redirects to the thank you page, which is nice. And it also uses that little embedded feature. And depending on the size, it still shows this hub nav, but it removes the other navigation pieces, the other controls. So it's just more focused. So, it can just be nice to know about, that little env equals embedded for your embed web parts. If you're embedding a page, same thing up here. I've got different pages embedded. So I've have that little embed feature added at the end so that it removes some of the other elements on there if I want to embed pages or something like that, which is just nice to know about. But I'll show a couple other little handy tricks as well here. So we'll just walk through like doing a redirect using that little embed feature to focus the page. So some other ones that are pretty handy that get used a lot might be, there could be a variety of scenarios for this, but you could actually pass like a search query to a page. So, you have these search bars at the top of your sites, your lists, your libraries, things like that. So and this one, it's this little, if you know how to construct it here, the view equals 7 and the q equals whatever value you want to pass. This is just what it is for using that search query feature. And so once you have your little sheet of what those are, those little query string tricks are, it's just a matter of copying that little query string and putting in your value. So in mine, I passed the keyword webinar. So you can actually see up in my search bar up there, webinar is there now, and it's actually filtering my calendar view of my list here to only show items that have that keyword webinar in it. Where if I was to remove this query string, it's just going to show the full calendar. So, there's a lot of scenarios where that could be useful because maybe you have a variety of quick links, and instead of setting up all these different views, you could just pass a value to it and kind of make it easier on yourself. But the way I'm doing this, I'm just passing a keyword, but maybe you actually want to filter on a specific value. So this one is just more of like I'm doing it in a more general way. You can also do that as well. So because I've had worked on some maybe ticketing systems, different cast lists where people have all kinds of different views. And of course, yeah, if you want to have your views, you can have them all set up. But if you've got 25 views that are all essentially the same, something you can do, or you have maybe 25 different lists that are essentially the same and they have 25 different views, that all adds up if you're kind of doing something similar. Something you can do is just pass your filter and sorting query strings and your quick links to that. Maybe also you have it could be an alert that gets sent, an email, and you want to pass a filter and sort value. Anyways, there's all kinds of scenarios where this could be useful. But what I'm going to show is just doing a quick link. I'm going to pass where the status equals available. And I'm going to do sort by ID as well. So I'm going to click this link here. And what it's doing is it's actually passing that over. And so I'm targeting that field status where it equals available, sorting by the ID field. So if I was to, for instance, remove this just to show you, we'll see that those little, the little thing that was sorting this or filtering the status field and sorting the ID field are gone. Because before it was just showing that available items where the status equals available. So you can see that there. You can see the status is available. So, just little tricks that you can use, and that could be just helpful to know if you want to have different sort of links to something, and maybe you want to filter it on a certain value. And maybe you want to do that for a bunch of different lists and libraries instead of setting up those views. You could do something like this, or maybe even have more of a dynamic use case. But anyways, yeah, it's just handy to know you have that feature available. And I have used that for for a different sort of as a solution. And you can even pass multiple filters. You can, in this little slide, I even show where you can, if you have like a multi-select, you can pass, multiple values to the filter. But anyway, so you can get pretty crazy with it as well if you need to. But I won't go too in depth with that. But I'll go over to the other one here, which is more useful, could be more useful as a developer. And I even have to remember now to potentially, if I want to either troubleshoot something, or maybe I'm just looking at a page and I don't want to edit the page and see what's on it, I have some options here. So this maintenance mode and then disable code, they're nice little tricks, and I don't have to maybe inspect the code or maybe I'm going to do that anyways, but I don't have to do that necessarily or edit the page and get access to it. Something that I could do if someone has a question is just use one of these little tricks here. And yeah, I've got links to them. I'll just use these. So just to show you, if I do the maintenance mode, so the maintenance mode actually puts all the web parts in the page and shows all the details about them without actually rendering them. On the front end, I can actually just look at some of the details about it. I can see it's just sort of the JSON view of the data, different details about it, attributes about these, what the web parts are. You see if I remove it, it's just a matter of that query string to load it in that other mode. So I've got all these different web parts here, and just by using that maintenance mode, especially if you're maybe having a problem, you could see, well, what is even on this page? So without me having to edit the page, I can see, what web parts are here. And then alternatively, so let's say this is giving you details about your web parts and the data that's being pulled back from them. Something else you could do is, well, there's a problem with one of these web parts and you don't know what it is. Something you can do is to figure out if it's a custom web part. So something that's been developed like in SPFX. And don't worry if you don't know what that is. It's just maybe more of a developer thing, but you can just keep this in your back pocket as well, even if you're not a developer, which it's just this option to disable any custom SPFX web parts so that only the out-of-the-box ones render. So if you think there's any sort of custom development going on and maybe it's the custom pieces that are causing the issue, you do have this ability to do the disable the code, the disable 3P code, and that will just render what it considers to be not an SPFX web part. So like the out of the box news, there's like a feed web part, whatever it is. So that way you can see if the page is loading better, to see if it was one of those custom pieces that was causing maybe your page issue, or maybe it's something else. So it can kind of be a way to maybe help determine if you want to do an IT ticket, or you are IT, you could just double check real quick, use that little disable code just to see if someone had a problem with the page and they're saying that a page load issue or something like that. You could just double check if, real quickly using something like this little query string parameter. So just some of the other ones talked about that embedded, and then the other one there, this is the list app mode. So just to let you know as well, you can render a page in the Microsoft list version. They have like an app version of the list, which you can. So right now this is like a normal list, and what you can actually do, just to show you, is just the last one I'll probably go over today. Let's see if I had, actually I'll show you on my embed page. So let me just come back here. And I think I have it down below. So yeah, I'll just show you on one of these. So in this one, I actually combined the Microsoft list app view with some filters as well. So in my embed web part, if you're using a embed web part on a page, you can also, pass your filter and sorting values, as well as, change potentially how the list looks. So the Microsoft list version, this particular view, it's a more focused view anyways. It won't have any of the branding and things like that. It's just like a different way to look at your list through like more of it's a web version of that list app. And so you can use that as well as a query string. So, one option I showed is using that embedded version to do the focused view of the list. And then there's also this, which is the like list app view. And I'm also passing in those same filter and sorting in my actual URL here, which I'm using in this embed web part. So just something you can think about as well. You can do some more dynamic things with your embed. If you're embedding it for whatever reason in an iframe on a page, you could use some of these different tricks as well within that scenario, and not just in something like a quick link. So yeah, just some things to keep in mind, whether you're doing some debugging or want to put together a little out of the box solution, maybe that doesn't require too much development. You just want to try something out. These are some tricks you can keep in mind that maybe will help, maybe improve a little experience or something like that, or something you can keep in mind before going maybe deep down more of a custom development route. So I think with that in mind, I think that will conclude my portion, and I'll hand this back over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dylan. I'll be putting a few of those to use myself. I love the focused view of that form. Really encourage you guys to kind of test that. I think it's really nice when a user can click on a button on a home page and go to that form, and then not be dumped back out in the list like you are by default, but put that redirect query string on there so that you can go to that thank you page or go back to a home page. I think it just enhances that user experience. So for today, we're going to close out with Hayden, who's presenting on the new start page that is coming. Over to you, Hayden.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy pre-Friday to your Friday. The weekend's almost here, and I hope that this new SharePoint Start section is going to help make your weekend just that much sweeter. So Microsoft is finally revamping their SharePoint Start page. It's rolling out soon. They've announced that it's going to happen this month. There is no set date that's been announced as to which day it's going to roll out, but they do estimate by the end of July, everyone will at least have the ability to do so. With this new SharePoint Start page, Microsoft is aiming to inspire content creators by emphasizing a user-friendly approach. They want to minimize clicks. They want to make it easier to create sites, pages, news, internet content. I will preface this teaching by saying that not much has been disclosed up to this point about the new Start page, so there may be some changes from what is shown today. And before we get started, a term that you will hear today is content. I've actually used it already a couple of times, but content as it pertains to SharePoint specifically is pretty much any document, file, page, or site that is created or modified for other people's consumptions. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Look, guys, one of the key lifelines to your intranet as it pertains to both user adoption and user engagement is content. Where is that content housed? How can users access it? Is it fresh? Is it new? Or is it more stagnant? But look, I also understand that content creation can sometimes feel like a full-time job in and of itself. So I think that this new feature will help streamline the ability to add great content while cutting down on the time needed to get that content out to the user base and the users that you want to have that content. So without further ado, here's what we know so far. The current SharePoint start page, it's a bit confusing, right? Especially to new users. It can be very difficult to navigate as well as create new content from it. If you've used SharePoint prior to maybe working with us, you know that once you hit the house icon at the top left of a SharePoint site, it's automatically programmed to take you to the start page instead of maybe a hub site homepage that you've built out for your intranet. And for many users, as soon as they get to that start page, it's usually an indicator that you're now lost in your own intranet. But a fair bit of clients that we've worked with choose to change that home button into more of a global navigation, which we have been a huge fan of up to this point. And I will continue to touch base on that more a little bit later. But with that said, that's all the past. Let's look to the future to see what is coming our way. So with the new SharePoint start page, you'll have the ability to refine drafts, to review past work, monitor engagement metrics, which is awesome to see what's working, what's not working, kind of a heat map of your intranet as a whole, and ultimately just an easier way to create content. Now, the start screen itself will get a facelift, but as you know, as Microsoft rolls out things, they offer some preview options. What you'll notice as it starts to roll out is at the top of the SharePoint start page currently, you'll see the preview option. Once you click into that, you'll get into the new content creation side of the new SharePoint start page. So once you click in, you'll be met with a brand new creators page. This is where you're going to find templates for newsletters, announcements, or even pages for different sites. You can see there at the bottom the update status for a specific site, update announcements, or basic newsletters. At this time, we're not quite sure if you can add your own templates and what that would look like, but the way Microsoft is heading, it would not surprise me that they do allow some customized features there, since everything is going into more of a templatized feature for a lot of content creation. But real quick, I'm going to show you what it looks like to spin up a new page using this new SharePoint start page. So you'll be prompted to enter some basic information for the page as itself. Please note that this feature does couple with Copilot, which will help with the content creation. That's very exciting stuff. And once you fill out some of the basic info for the site or the page, you can attach a Word document with information and data on it that Copilot will use to help create the page. At this time, we're not sure if any other document types such as PDFs, Excel files, or even PowerPoint presentations will be able to be used, but we do know that it can extract both text and images from that Word document, which is a huge time saver, especially if you already have something that gets sent out company-wide and you want to broadcast it on the internet as well. So once you hit the generate button, a new page will be generated. It will stay unpublished, which is perfect because all of the content will be added, whether from that Word document or the information that you gave Copilot to help it create and generate that page. And it allows you to make any edits or changes that you need to do prior to user consumption, which is very nifty, especially AI is still in the works and is still growing, and so it can still make mistakes. And so this is a perfect time to pause, take a look at the page, make sure all the colors, images, and text are there as you want it to. But ultimately, this new start page and creators portal will not only help drastically cut down on content creation time, like we've been talking about, but it also allows you to control all the content and make any edits or changes from all of the sites you have ownership of content from one spot. So instead of having to go into your internet, navigating to one by one to the correct site and the correct page, or the right news web parts, or whatever content that you're looking for that you can change, you can just quickly go to that one spot in the creators portal and make changes there. As mentioned before, we still are huge fans of global navigation features. So this might just be an additional navigation link that you want to give content users so that they don't feel that navigation loss like it has been in the past. And so needless to say, this is a very, very exciting update to SharePoint. And as this feature begins to roll out this month, there's still a lot they haven't disclosed about this feature. So we may not have all the answers to any questions you may have about it yet, but we are super excited to see this is a huge revamp, a huge update to what they currently have. And we look forward to keeping you and your teams updated as more information comes out. But with that said, I thank you all for your time today, and I'll pass it back over to you, Andrea. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Hayden. Yeah, things are definitely getting very streamlined as far as designing pages goes. So that concludes the learning portion of today's call. We want to encourage you to be on the lookout in your email for the next webinar date in August. We'll be looking for new features and maybe even, bringing up some good oldies as well. As always, today's recording, presentation, sample code, additional how-to documents, these will all be made available for you to download. Please share them to your SharePoint environment users, however you see fit. We're about ready to segue into the live Q&A. If you cannot hang around for that and you have to drop off, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to meeting up with you again next month. On the screen, you'll see that we've got instructions for raising your hand. So if you have a question, just raise that hand there from the meeting menu, and your mic will be unmuted, and we'll do a live Q&A. If there are no questions, we'll go ahead and conclude after about 60 seconds of if nobody raises their hand. We just had one question in the chat pane today, so that was already answered. Let's see, are there any others? Nope. Oh, April, where can we find the recordings for these sessions? Leona will reach out to you, April, and make sure that you know where to get those from. I think it's going to be just the same URL for everyone. Emails should have gone out. Leona's out of office today, so I can probably hunt that down for you. I'll send that over shortly. All right, guys, it doesn't look like any hands are being raised, so we will go ahead and conclude. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great afternoon. Bye now.